Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Glass, written by AltCipher. There wasn't even any blood, Charlie said. He scratched at a 3-day salt and pepper stubble on his chin. The thin grey light from the overcast December afternoon did nothing to hide the bags under his eyes. He watched the skeletal trees outside the window claw at the sky like they were begging for the rapture. Just, Charlie said, nothing. He turned back to face Rhonda. Her office was covered in lightly colored fabrics and deep, rich wood panels. The windows faced out onto the large open lawn, sloping gently down to a placid lake. The furniture was just so lightly oversized and plush. "Did you stay long?" Rhonda asked, her voice quiet and soothing. Charlie felt the pull of the present, prying him from the past. "No," he said, his voice now husky with the weight of years. "Not long. A couple of hours, maybe. Enough to confirm the readings." Rhonda let the moment linger before speaking. She wanted to balance between losing Charlie in her memory and making him confront the source of his pain. "What did you see?" "Most of the buildings were gone," Charlie said. His eyes pointed out the window, but saw only history. Rubble, destruction, a few pieces of wall stood up like mushrooms after the rain, he said. Mushrooms. I remember that. I remember thinking how this world had seen so many mushrooms. I didn't realize I was laughing until the ship piped a bunch of feedback into my helmet. The shrieking snapped me out of it. Rhonda nodded and let Charlie guide the conversation. When they took us back up to the ship, Charlie said, I was sweating and freezing and sick and goofy all at once. They held us in quarantine for 2 weeks. We circled our dead world the whole time. I knew it was impossible, but I'd swear I could see that planet right through the hull. I even saw it in my dreams. "How long was it until you were rescued?" Rhonda asked. Oh, right. Well, we didn't see it as rescue, Charlie said. We'd accomplished our mission, and we were still alive. Getting home was going to be another 5 or 6 year project. We had to build another PLA. That's what we called it. What's up, player? Petawatt Laser Array, PLA. The big one that launched us from Jupiter took almost 15 years to build, while we had smaller portable version. It only had to fire once, so it was more half-assed. "These sessions aren't about the technology you took with you, Charlie," Rhonda said. "Yeah," he said. "I guess not. Anyway, that fancy ship showing up about 18 months later, I guess. We'd long since settled into a routine, spending 12 to 14 hours a day outside trying to get the damn laser up and running. I knew a guy down in engineering that had set up a still. What came out of that thing was pretty much rocket fuel, tasted like crap and burned like hell." Charlie looked back out across the field to the great lake. "But that rocket fuel was the only thing that let me sleep worth a damn." He looked down at his feet. "A lot of guys hit up that still. Some of the brass, too. They're ones that knew to turn a blind eye or risk a full-on mutiny." Charlie took a deep breath and raised his head to look at Rhonda. "That ship," he said. "That game for us. The Liberato looked like something out of a dream. No engines, sparkling, clean lines, not a right angle on the whole ship, just curves and swoops. We thought for sure some god aliens had come to judge us. We didn't even have time to spin up any missiles, because it just popped out of whatever magic dimension it was in." Charlie turned away from Rhonda. "But it was humans," he said, hushed and slow. A human face popped up on the screen. An old man tried to talk to them, but they sounded odd, like you half understood what they were trying to say before it slipped away. A couple hundred hours later, both ships managed to piece together some part of the story. Charlie spun on his heel and crossed the room to Rhonda in 3 hard pumping steps. "How old do I look?" His voice was louder now, echoing off the walls. "Early 50s, Rhonda stammered, surprised by the speed of the charge. "Early 50s? Yeah, I guess so," Charlie said, his voice dropping by the moment. He seemed to shrink in on himself. I was born 1,217 years ago, he said. He glanced back at the lake, in a place just about 20 miles from that lake. Rhonda studied what she could see of Charlie for any signs of violence. Relatively, he said. Every man that signed up for the mission knew the cost. We were leaving everything behind. We'd ride a laser beam faster than any human had ever gone before. Whether or not we saved it, we'd never see our world again. We might make it back to Earth, but it wouldn't be our Earth. She'd be older. Charlie slumped down into one of the overstuffed chairs and sat for a moment. That's why they only let men go. No chance of a kid being born if there's no woman. They had a preference for unmarried and childless bachelors. Said it would be less cruel that way. Maybe. I don't know. Charlie picked at the armrest of the chair with a ragged fingernail. It seemed to command his full attention. It still hurt, though, didn't it? Rhonda asked. What the hell would you know about hurt? You're just a hologram, Charlie said. Rhonda bristled and maintained her professionalism. That's an outdated view, Charlie, she said. I'm a siliconite instead of a carbanoid. I am no less a person and no less real than you. We fought for our rights as your people fought for theirs. Your ancient racist opinion has no place in this time. I thought this was supposed to be a safe place to express myself, Charlie said. Safe, yes, Rhonda said, but not without its own rules. There were names your people were called that would be just as inappropriate. Charlie nodded faintly. I apologize, he said. Well, Rhonda said, I understand this is quite the transition for you, and accept your apology. Tell me more about what happened when you were rescued. They took us on board, told us that it had been over 1,000 years, and that they could have us home in a few weeks, Charlie said, still picking mindlessly at the furniture. There was more they told you, wasn't there? Rhonda asked. Charlie started before clearing his throat. The planet that we... Charlie found it difficult going. It's okay, Rhonda said. Take your time. The war had never come, Charlie said. The one attack on Earth was all that ever happened. And it wasn't even an attack, just some kind of random bad luck that had the cruiser crash into Europe. We wiped out a billion people without meaning to. We built the PLA and took the battle to them. And it wasn't even a war. We won, though. Boy, did we win. Rhonda watched as Charlie's eyes grew red, and he forced himself to not look up from his torn and bloody fingernail, scraping at the twisted threads of the chair. We glassed them, Charlie choked out. Glassed the whole fecking planet. Killed everything that ever lived down there. Wasn't even a war. And we annihilated them. You ever seen a glass planet? Because I hadn't. Hell, I don't know if anyone has. It's god-awful. A whole world reduced to a charged little ball of crap. Even after decon, you can still smell the burning. In your hair, in your clothes, in your dreams. Men, women, and children all burnt up. Never had a chance. Then that stupid fecking angel ship shows up and tells us it was for nothing. Even worse. You just slaughtered a species with their own history and stories and technology. Wiped them out because of a misunderstanding, an accident. You're not heroes. You're the monsters from the dark. You're the ones that civilized people should fear. You're the bad guy. Charlie stopped picking at the chair. His blood had stained the end of the armrest. He could feel his pulse in the chewed-up remnants of his finger. There wasn't even any blood, he said. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.